If you cannot see the difference, you should be able to feel it. Shrinkage also loosens joints, leaving strips of unfinished surfaces peeking out from the newly separated members. These surfaces, if period, should show oxidation, not new, fresh wood. In veneer work, the veneer shrinks at one rate and the core substrate to which it is glued at another. So the glue gives out and the veneer loosens. The wood pegs that hold some object joints together, though they may not actually become loose with age, tend to stand proud of the surface. They look, but they hold together. This can be viewed, or more importantly, it can be felt with a simple stroke of the finger. Other details to look for. Apron. Victorians added a circular apron on the underside of round tabletops. They thought it would prevent warping, but it did not. Case backs. Patinization against the wall should always be seen on old furniture. The edges of the back timbers should be black. It is the back that you will see telltale signs that joints that shows where timbers have been added. Possibly, you should begin your investigation by vetting at the back. Leg bandage. A bandage consists of 4 pieces of veneer or wood. It is used to hide a joint made when the leg was extended in order to increase the height of a piece. Table bearers. Bearers on period tables supporting the top were always tapered and ended far enough in from the end or side of the top so they could be not seen, without bending down to look under the table. Brass pulls. Double height case pieces would always have the same size escutcheons and the same design of pulls, whether bails or backplates, throughout the piece. Old brass had a higher percentage of copper than that of today, and in time it would tend to take on a slate greenish hue which modern brass does not achieve. Brass casters. The early brass casters, made in the Chippendale era, had wheels made of 3 or 4 pieces of leather and the hub fitted onto the leg. The brass caster with brass wheels was introduced in around 1760. Carving. Period carving should be kept above the surface of the rest of the timber and very bold. The 18th century cabinet maker did not have to economize on timber, so he cut away and down into the timber. Flat or countersunk timber should always have been added at a later date. Around and in old carving, there is always patinization. Many Chippendale chairs are in fact late Georgian ones, which have been carved out at a later stage and ruined in the process. Such carving is inevitably flat or countersunk. The Victorians, who made endless copies of Chippendale, used larger chisels than that of the 18th century. Workmen and these leave different types of tooling marks, so one must attune themselves to late or early tooling. Chair arms. All the best period cabinet makers made armchairs by adhering the arms to the corner or side of the back post. They were never adhered to the front of the back post. Cock beating. This is a narrow, protruding molding, half circular in shape, mainly applied around the 4 edges of a drawer front. Nearly all drawers from 1720 to 1800 were finished in this way. The most important thing is that all these were always mitered and glued and never nailed. Cockleshell or ornamentation. The cockleshell was a favorite ornament of the Victorians, who, when added to an existing 18th century piece, no doubt increasing awareness to themselves, but reducing the piece's value. Cross-banding. Whenever used, cross-banding should be applied at right angles to a herringbone inlay. Stated differently, this instance is possibly when herringbone inlay may have been added to an existing drawer front. Cabinet doors. Single cabinet doors should always open to the right. A pair of double doors would have 3 hinges per door, and where the doors met, there would be narrow astragal moldings of wood or brass screwed on, not pinned. The molding was allowed for the inevitable shrinkage of the timber of the doors and to prevent a visible gap in the offing. Double height pieces. In these pieces, the sides of both sections were always made from the same timber and always the same thickness top and bottom. Grain and color must then be the same. Similarly, these styles of the doors were the same width in top and bottom sections. Drawers. When removing the top drawer of a piece of the underside of the top should have a paler patinization than the balance of the interior secondary woods. No 18th century should fill the full depth of the case to front to back. On all good quality English drawer sides, oak was used and the top edges of the sides will be rounded. The thinner the sides, the better. Optimum, to about 3/8 of an inch. Bottom boards. Up to 1770, the grain of the bottom boards of all drawers ran front to back. After that date, they ran side to side. To allow for shrinkage, the 18th century cabinet makers made the bottom drawers out of 2 to 3 boards. In all genuine period drawers, most bottoms will be split due to shrinkage over the years. In Victorian times, the bottom was made from one piece and screwed or not, like the earlier being nailed. Moldings. If a drawer has corner moldings fixed inside and glued to both sides and bottom of the piece, it cannot be earlier than 1800. Dovetails. Any difference in the dovetails from one another indicate that a piece has been restored, converted, or interfered with in some way. All drawers, large and small, if handmade, should have a scribe mark to show where the dovetail bottom ends. If when you pull out a drawer and you find that it is at front heavy, that is, inclined to fall out because of its own weight, you will know that the drawer was originally larger and now has a much, much heavier front than is needed. Again, drawers never ran to the full depth of a case. They stopped about 2 inches from the back. Allowing air to circulate. Inlay. On walnut pieces, a herringbone inlay would always run clockwise. Over time, genuine inlay at some point has its inlet circumference will suffer from adhesion failure and show raised areas. Veneer on the inside face of a drawer is a good indication of hiding old hardware holes. Hiding holes, possibly due to a drawer being reduced in width. Patinization. Drawers at times have a patinization on the front top sides due to the drawer being pushed in at the sides. Oxidizing from the salts and oils from the hands. Again, pushing the drawer in from the sides, oxidation of oils. The number of drawers. 18th century cabinet makers were rigid in maintaining their drawer configurations. The bureau had either 2 short or 3 long drawers, or 4 long drawers, or a dummy top drawer, and 3 long drawers. A bureau bookcase had, in the bureau part, either 2 short or 3 long drawers, or 4 long drawers, or a dummy top drawer and 3 long drawers. A chest of drawers had either 2 small or 3 long drawers or 4 long drawers. A tall boy would have had 2 to 3 short drawers and 3 long drawers in the top and 3 long drawers in the bottom section. Escutcheons. Genuine 18th century escutcheons, or if of a good copy, are tapered on the inletting side of the side slightly rounded. These castings in the Victorian times tended to be square. In the 18th century, all case drawers had escutcheons. Many Victorian drawers contained none at all. Fret. Genuine Chippendale fretwork, although thin, approximately 1/8 of an inch, was laminated in a 3-ply scenario, imparting strength and the stresses of the wood to be held in check. Frets were cut with a jeweler's saw or with a fret saw. Looking under magnification, saw marks should remain. The Victorians later stamped out the fret, imparting a polished cross-sectional surface. Horizontal ribbing. If a top oval case piece is serpentine or oxbow, and the fastening rib below it must be of the same design. Many copies didn't contain a rib at all under the top, having the upper drawer starting on the underside of the top. Glazing. Separate lights or panes are used in cupboard doors. No grille work should be applied over a large glazed piece of glass. Glass panes should always be of the same color, having flaws, bubbles, and voids resulting from being hand blown. Examine the glass, each glass glazing per se, generally made out of plaster of Paris with adhesives added for strength. Make sure all the glazing color and textures match each other. Also be very observant. Glass over time, hand blown, will tend to warp slightly outward from a piece. This is due to molecular oxidation from a different external, more unstable environment as compared to a consistent internal one. Inlay. On early 18th century case tops, where the veneer is quartered, there is always a herringbone inlay running around the quartering clockwise. Keys. 18th century keys are made of steel and have bowed-shaped handles. The thinner the bow, the more likely it is old. Legs. If a piece of furniture has square, taper legs, only the inside surfaces of the legs are tapered. Legs are always made out of only one piece of timber. Locks. None of the old locks or deadbolts are stamped with a name or patent number. This came in Victorian times, so if you notice file marks on the inside of levers, you can be sure that the lock once had a name or a patent number which there had been filed off and filed away. Old locks or door bolt cases will be of brass, but the actual levers and bolts will be of steel and will be square or oblong. Marble. 95% of all the timepieces of white marble tops are from the Victorian era, or a top is a replacement. 18th century marble tops come in red, pinkish, green, mottled, or any other color but white. Nails. If the back of a double heightened piece is nailed, so too should be the bottoms. Although the head of the 18th century nail should be black with a black ring or a stain in the wood due to environmental or room conditions, the iron will corrode. Also, these nails should stand just a tad bit proud of the wood's surface due to the wood drying out and shrinking. Seat rails. All seat furniture, chairs, settees, and stools should measure 1 foot 6 inches from the ground to the height of the upholstery of the seat, whether it has an overstuffed seat or a drop or slip-in seat. The seat rails are normally 4 inches deep. Hepplewhite rails are much thinner, so the majority of them are in the period or laminated. Warning, a form of shrinking occurs because a wood log contracts differently in different directions. While the timber does not lose any perceptible length, it shrinks significantly around the circumference of the log. Wood shrinks and warps most when it is green. So boards sawn from newly felled timber are seasoned before they are worked. Many tabletops have warped so much that they have become unsightly, unstable, and then replaced. For the collector of a crooked top is preferable over a replaced one. Inspect wide boards for shrinkage cracks, for filled cracks, and for the evidence of reunification. Least acceptable is a cracked, warped wide board replaced with many narrow boards. In period pieces, expect one-piece tabletops, case tops, and case sides. Except two-piece surfaces, suspect 3 or more boards when that is occurring. The majority of 18th century furniture is comprised of superb timbers. This is due to large supplies of old-growth forest, which have been allowed makers to be extraordinarily selective. Makers avoided knots or timber with worm damage. Restorers and or fakers are more likely to use inferior woods due to limited supplies and the pressure to match existing woods.